January 19th, 2004 was obviously a bad day in our family. I was at work that day. It was a Monday, Martin Luther King Day. I got a call from a very panicked neighbor, and she told me that my wife, Judy, and our son Joe, 12-year-old son Joe, had been in a crash. It wasn't very far from where I worked. It wasn't very far from our home. So I got in the car and went over there, and it was obviously a bad situation. Judy was in an ambulance, and I went up to her and I talked to her first, and she was shook up but okay, but she said, please check on Joe. And I went back to the car, and he was trapped in the car, and the paramedics and firefighters were trying to get him out, and he wasn't breathing. They had no blood pressure, and it was obviously a very, very bad situation. I rode with him in the ambulance to the hospital. He was on life support for probably about 12 hours. He never regained consciousness, and at about 4 in the morning, he died. And we found out later that a young lady was talking on a cell phone, looking straight out the window, ran a red light in broad daylight, didn't hit the first car that was passing in front of her. Judy was the third or fourth car, and caused the crash while talking on a cell phone. You lose a child and it changes your life forever. It's been 6 years now as we do this interview, and it's still painful every single day. I think of Joe every single day. I miss him terribly. And the hardest thing to reconcile is that, he died because of a phone call. There was no other reason. This driver was looking straight out the window. Our family's never been the same. I have 2 other sons. Judy and I have 2 other sons, and they're doing okay, but they still struggle with lost Joe. We had one of those wonderful, perfect family lives. I remember Joe used to say, every day I said to Joe that I loved him, and Judy did too, and he started saying back to us, well, I love you more. And he'd say, no, we love you more. And I remember probably just a few weeks before he died that he came up to me when I came home from work, and he ran up and he hugged me and he said, hi, Daddy-O. And I said, how you doing, Joe? And he said, I'm great. And he said, I love you, Dad. And this was just in the afternoon, or late afternoon. And I remember walking back to the closet to hang up my coat and kind of looking up and just thanking God for what a wonderful relationship with Joe. And 2 weeks later, he was gone. Someone described it to me early on. I'll never forget this. They said, when you lose a child, you never ever get over it. It's not something you live through or work through, but you do learn how to live a little better with it as time goes on, and I think that's the case here. But the hardest thing is you just miss your son. You miss talking to him, you miss the hugs, and that will never change. That will never change.